We're live.
We're live. This is a really special live. Dr. Colleen Saringer, do you know why?
I don't know. Should I know the answer?
Of course you should, because we're also streaming on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, that's right. That's
Hey everybody.
In my life. Hey, YouTube.
Hey everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Happy April 4th. I'd like to introduce you to Colleen Saringer, who apparently has had a few mind slips today already.
Goodness gracious. My brain, I'm telling you.
Hey, join the club. Join the club.
All right. So should we jump in? I know we have a ton to cover. So do you want me to go ahead and jump in?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So for anyone who is joining us for the first time, or again, even if you're, a regular attendee, we always start with the hosts of our show. And so basically we host. Hello. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. It's going to get better from here on out.
My brain, and I just snorted. We always start with sharing the goal of our show. So with that, We Built a Bridge was founded with the core interest of creating a funnel of conversation that many hesitate to engage in. Christine is a life coach for women, and myself, Colleen, I'm a fractional culture and well-being leader to small businesses. United, we offer different perspectives on communication, culture, and life fulfillment to guide you toward a life with integrity and curiosity. Over to you, my friend.
I love that so much. Every time I hear it, it hits me someplace different with something different.
I know, me too.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining us today. If you're joining us from YouTube, you rock. Not to discount those of you joining us from LinkedIn, because you know what? You've been with us since the beginning. You extra rock. 100%. So Colleen, it's great to see you. It's always great to be here. And just to, kind of give a little unscripted idea of what we're going to talk about today. So even when you have a targeted conversation topic, it's amazing what can come of it when you let your guard down and share freely. Colleen and I got really personal in the pre-recorded episode 11, which covered how the spontaneity of living like it's your last day may coincide with the grief you feel. Colleen revealed some deep-seated regrets, and in that, we learned a valuable lesson about just how powerful and connected grief is to what goes unresolved in our lives. We're here today to share your thoughts and reactions to what it means to live like it's your last day and question how regret and grief intertwine. But before we jump into this long-awaited conversation, we have to start with our icebreaker. And the question everyone's dying to know.
Spring is here, which means amusement park season is right around the corner. So with that, the question is this, Christine Passo, what is your amusement park ride preference?
It is standing, watching everybody that's on the roller coaster, holding everybody's jackets and drinks and saying, have fun, but hell no.
No way, not one ride?
Oh, I've been on one roller coaster in my life. I was a child. I don't remember. It was before the age of 10. Honestly, I'm scarred forever. We went to Six Flags Great Adventure in Pennsylvania. My dad took my sister and I. My sister's older than me, and she loves roller coasters. My dad likes them too. So we get on this roller coaster. Oh, teen, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. I was screaming bloody murder. They honestly stopped the ride to let me off. I was in tears. My dad was laughing because he thought it was a joke. So that scarred me as well, because he was not picking up on my communication. It was awful. I've never been on a roller coaster since. I'm terrified.
But so not even like a spinny ride?
Oh, the spinny's even worse. Here comes vertigo and vomiting. Nobody needs that in their day. Okay.
Okay. So we are not going to an amusement park together.
Well, we can. I'll hold your jacket.
Hold the things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. Clearly you are a roller coaster person.
Oh my gosh. But you know what's so funny? I feel like most children are introduced to roller coasters by either their mom or dad dragging them on it, saying, you're going to love this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're screaming like a maniac because you feel like your stomach is going to come out of your throat.
Yep.
But I continue to love them. And so, yes, I'm a really big roller coaster rider. for those of you, again, who may not know, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, which means Cedar Point, one of the best amusement parks out there, is where I grew up going. And May is like the time to go because kids are still in school. And so like the rides are short because typically those roller coaster rides are long. But yeah, sign me up for a roller coaster any day of the week.
You know, I'm envious because I know they're so exciting, right? You get on a roller coaster and your adrenaline is pumping. I mean, you're like having these like almost out of body experiences while you're going super fast. You don't know what turn is coming up. It's really exciting. And with that, you're kind of learning something new with every twist and turn, right? Yeah. But I mean, I can see the excitement in that, you know, but
well, it's actually a perfect segue into the excitement that we're ready to share today on this episode. So,
oh yes, about the LinkedIn post that I posted this morning.
Yes, please. Ma'am. All right. So what we have learned, what Christine and I have learned on this ride that we have been on together since November of last year, so November of 2023, is that we are both extremely rooted in the power of communication. That at the end of the day, everything, and we mean everything, comes down to communications, which is why we are so excited to announce Build Bridges for the Workplace. So we believe that the workplace is missing compassionate communication that fosters connection. And when employees are able to fine-tune their communication skills from the inside out, that's when the magic happens for themselves and for the companies that they work for from a profitability standpoint in ways that I don't even think there's enough research out there to point to. Yeah. So all that to say, we are available for hire. Our program is designed around understanding what our past has taught us about communication, because it plays such a huge role in it. Understanding our own communication styles and how we can use it to override these kind of immediate reactions that come up for us when we are communicating based on what we know. We'll talk about how to navigate difficult conversations and understanding how grief shows up in the workplace, because it shows up a lot, but I don't think we're calling it what it is. And so the even cooler thing is that this program that we're offering is available in person or virtual. What else you got, friend?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, you know, for years and years when I was in the corporate workplace, there were issues about communication left and right. And I just kept feeling like something was meant in my future to offer the reality of how important it is to communicate well in the workplace. And when we bring, because we are bringing our personal selves to work, whether everybody wants to talk about, oh, you shouldn't bring your whole selves to work. That's not it. We are bringing who we are to work, and who we are is how we communicate. And that's going to translate into the work that we do, how we speak to our clients, how we build relationships with our teams. It's just essential. So this is, honestly, I'm unbelievably excited. You know, we built a bridge, which all started with our clear communication with each other. And so to open this up to honestly interact with other people in a personal environment, I think will be life-changing for us both and for everybody that participates.
I agree.
Yeah. So, okay, there you go. There's our announcement. Now it's time to move into more of what the show is about. And just a quick reminder that we shifted things a little bit. We made an announcement last week that we now dually stream on YouTube and LinkedIn. All of our episodes record and are stored on YouTube. So you can go back, catch up. If it's your first time joining us, thank you so much for being here. We adore you. And if you're hooked now, so go to our YouTube page, which essentially is YouTube at We Built a Bridge, and go ahead and listen in on everything, get caught up. We go live every other Thursday like we are today. And the Thursdays in between, we release a pre-recorded episode that essentially invites your comments and thoughts so that during our live broadcast, we can share your comments and open up the discussion to have with you, right? Because when we're talking about communication, connection, workplace culture, living our best lives, all those things. We all want to be a part of the communication. So that's what we invite you to do. So, okay, today we are live and let's move on. Colleen and I, during our pre-recorded episode, which is episode 11, I was really, really surprised by how our conversation essentially went from living our best lives and talking about grief and how regret got pulled into the conversation. It just, honestly, it threw me off, and it just happened in the last few minutes, but it's really had me thinking about how we diagnose our regret and then we allow it to sit in us as grief, which maybe we didn't know before. But we sit in it as grief until we're able to recognize the importance of how it's a part of our past and why we're choosing to continue inviting it in our future. So with that, we want to bring up a lot of the comments that you left. So thank you so much to those of you that tuned in, listened to the recording. And now we want to talk about the comments that we received. So Colleen, I would love for you to talk about some that really spoke to you.
Yeah, sure thing. And I'm so glad that you pushed on that that regret piece, because Amy Clark, who responded to us on LinkedIn, she pulls this into the comment and talks about grief and regret. So anyways, all that to say, what Amy Clark had shared was, after losing my second father last year, my perspective shifted. Rather than dwelling on grief, I celebrated his life and embraced the lessons he taught me. This is where we get into the regrets piece. She says, I've redirected my focus from regrets shaping my future to using my experiences in order to improve both my life and the lives of others. So that one really spoke to me. And I'll reflect on it in just a second, but I want to also pull in Victoria Walling. She had commented to us on YouTube, and she said, we become more aware of what truly fulfills us in life. It doesn't have to be extravagant. As long as you're happy with your choices, that's what matters most. And so I know, just kind of a reminder, ultimately, the question that we had thrown out there was, when you're in the throes of grief, do you find yourself questioning your own mortality in the form of living or your own passing? So again, ultimately, Amy had responded definitely to that question, and also pulled in the regret piece, right, that we had talked about on the show. And then Victoria, she definitely honed in on the question about the throes of grief. So where I want to go for reflection, and then I'm going to share a little, as I go on this reflection to these comments, I'm going to share a little bit more about that regret that was coming up for me when I had, responded during our time together in episode 11. So basically, so again, Amy mentions redirecting regrets as a way to shape her future, right? So we have that. We have Victoria speaking to becoming more aware of what's truly fulfilling in life. So we have that. And then what I want to do is I want to overlay a few of the words that I used again in episode 11, which were that when I answer that question about being in the throes of grief, what am I reflecting on? I'm personally questioning how I lived in the past and how I'm living today because of the importance of impact. And that's a non-negotiable for me. And so during our time together in episode 11, I talked about, how I go down reflection lane, right? I think about the past, I think about today, and I'm always stopped by two key regrets. And I wasn't this specific in the show, so I'm going to be specific today. I have two key regrets. One is not going into the military. And it's somewhat laughable in a way, and not the military itself. I still again, that regret is big for me. The laughable part is that my husband always challenges me on this because I don't like to follow rules. So he's like,
I can attest to that.
He's like, can you please stop bringing it up, right? So that's one big one for me. The other is not going to medical school. Now, when I think about, again, both of these regrets, neither one of them are going to happen. I'm well past the age for ever going to the military. And medical school, again, my husband, after I finished my PhD, he said, you're not getting another degree. But if I think about why they continue to come up and how I can use them, how I can take this playbook, both of these pages from Amy and Victoria, is basically both the military and the medical school for me signified an opportunity to make an impact, which is my non-negotiable, right? And so what I need to do, and Christine, in some of our conversations, this is something that I have taken very seriously over the last couple of days, what I need to do in order to use that regret to inform my way going forward, I need to see and honor the fact that everything that I have done, even what I'm doing today, I am making an impact. I am still holding on to my non-negotiable, even if for whatever reason, those two extremely big kind of life events I have not achieved. So that's my reflection on, you know, how Amy and Victoria's words spoke to me.
Yeah. Well, I love what Carlos just said. And he said, nice bridge, Colleen. You know, you chose just an excellent word, Carlos, I have to tell you. And we want to invite you to comment now. If you have a comment and a thought about regret and grief in your life, I mean, please share. This is, you know, we want this space to be an environment that you can share and share with like-minded people. I mean, this is the community, really essentially a group of people that we're looking to attract, people that want to have these conversations. We don't want to table them anymore. We don't want to pretend that it's not real and that it's not happening and that we don't have these feelings. So please share with us, join in this conversation. This is really the entire point of us switching gears with our show, you know, the way that we're hosting our show. So we invite you. And then Terry also said a lot of senseless rules in the military, which, you know what, Terry, I have to say, they may be senseless to us as civilians, but I have a feeling, actually, I'm more than confident that in the military, they all mean something. You know, it's like wax on, wax off, right? Why am I doing this? Well, there's a purpose to it. And I have a feeling that that's the sense of that in the military, but I've never been. So, you know, I'm just a measly civilian speaking. But I appreciate your share, Colleen. And, you know, it was really interesting to experience that moment with you when you were talking about regret. And then later on, when we talked about it and you shared your regret for not having joined the military. I mean, it's so interesting how we hold on to these feelings and then not attribute how we're already applying these desires in our life every day, right? Which is what you're recognizing that you want to do more of. Yes.
Yeah.
So there were two comments that I want to pull from also. The first one is from Lauren Bentakovich. She said, regret is grief. I had never thought of it quite that way. Very interesting and so true. And honestly, Lauren, I felt the same way. I mean, I have a member of my family who really has a lot of regrets. And I think that it's definitely a barrier in being able to obtain and experience the true happiness today due to that grief and regret. And I honestly, that's what helped me to put those pieces together. And so I'm glad that it spoke to you, because I think that all of us in life, it will help us kind of cross these bridges that we didn't realize we needed to cross. And the company for female founders responded, asking deep questions like these can help many navigate their own feelings of grief and mortality. And see, that comment to me is beautiful, because it speaks to the fact that this is happening. We are all having these feelings. And just because we're at work doesn't mean that we can't talk about it, because it is this grief, these feelings that we have are feeding into every single conversation that we have with each other. And by ignoring it and not making it real, I think that we as business owners, as leadership, we are missing the buck in so many ways about how to create and build stronger teams.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like my little sidebar comment there. But, in realizing that regret is grief, it brought up something for me as well that I want to share real quick. And I know we've got some comments coming in. Colleen, maybe you can keep track of those. But I have regretted something that I did. It's really not even terrible, honestly. Something that I did when I was 19 years old. 19, I'm 53. So a lot of decades in between that. And I haven't been able to kind of let go of, honestly, it was just like embarrassing behavior to me. I was in a really uncomfortable place at the time, emotionally. And every time I recall that memory, I immediately feel shame.
Mhm.
But what I haven't realized is that by holding on to that regret, I'm holding on to shame in myself. And it goes bigger than that one moment, because to recognize shame and allow that to stay there, that means I'm allowing myself to feel shame in other parts of my life. And that was such a huge moment for me. I was having a conversation with a friend last week, and we kind of came to that realization together that, with that regret, it's not about having closure. It's not about forgiving that other person or allowing that other person to forgive us. I think in some cases, we just have to forgive ourselves for where we were at that moment. Like, we were out of character. We weren't emotionally well. We were not in that great place to really, truly represent who we are as a strong, confident, reliable person. And so honestly, I kind of feel like I've shed that shame, and it feels really good. And I say that and I share that because I know this is not uncommon. I know we all feel this. And so I invite our listeners to recall some of those moments that you regret. It's like, oh, I wish I didn't say that. I went overboard, or I wish I didn't do that. We all have those moments. Forgive yourself, because 9 times out of 10, you weren't in a good place. And when you let go of that, you're opening yourself up to so many other opportunities to create closer relationships and love yourself more.
And I don't want to dismiss the comments on the side, because they had played such a great role, but there's into this conversation. But the one thing that I want to say, as what was coming up for me as you were talking, is that 19-year-old experience. Well, first, that experience when you were 19. What I think we forget, and this plays a role into my military regret and my medical doctor regret, because me not doing either of those came around your same age time, because I was influenced by other people's thoughts, or you shouldn't do that, or it's going to cost all this money, or do you think you're smart enough, right? All these things. Our brains are not even fully developed until we are 26 years old. Mm-hmm. So at 17, 18, 19, when we are being asked to make these decisions, we literally can't. And so it's interesting that you brought up shame, because I think also what comes up for me is I'm ashamed, because I'm such a person that is all about like marching to the beat of my own drum, that I didn't do 2 things I felt so strongly about. Mm-hmm. Right. So anyways, I didn't want to miss the opportunity to reflect on that. But I think it pulls in nicely with what Carlos is saying, because I'm with him on this 100% about the rear view mirror is broken from the lack of use. And I hear that all the time. Like, same thing. When it starts to come in, I try so hard to push it out. I think what happens, if maybe I'm at a low, like right when things are just maybe not jamming in life, that's when I allow it to kind of surface, right? And I allow the rear view mirror to get in focus, which is an opportunity for me to just basically smash the rear view mirror and move it out of focus. So I love that comment. And then the other one here that Lauren made about her dad passing in 2020, which, thank you for sharing that with us, Lauren. Yeah. Right. And the grief and regret from not spending time together. So that's missed opportunity. And I think that is, it's interesting. My husband and I, we've been having a lot of conversations around our aging parents. And this is why I'm so adamant about trying to change this conversation on grief and regret, is because, and this is just my personal opinion, when we lose someone, we focus on that moment, when in reality, every day we need to honor that we are losing them. They are aging, right? They are getting older. And I'm not saying that that's going to help me the day that it happens when my parents, have passed, or his. But that's why I'm so adamant about trying to change this conversation, because it's like we're losing them every day, just like they're losing us every day, because we're all growing and developing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, as I was reading Lauren's, I could feel that. I think that's often what happens. But the whole comment here about now honoring the time that you have now with your kiddos and your family, I mean, that's what we can take and apply to it. And I think that again, to kind of wrap our arms in a nice giant hug around all of it, goes back to that initial question. How does it help us kind of navigate today? What can we use? What can we take from it to say, okay, now I'm going to change X going forward?
That's right.
But I think it's also important to allow it to surface and to feel it, and then to say thank you. Now it's time for you to move on.
Absolutely. Without that surfacing and honestly coping, so if we push it aside, we're never gonna be able to see it clear enough.
Yeah.
And there is such a valuable reason for why the process of grieving, and it's not just about death. And I know that we covered that in our previous episode, that grief comes in many different colors and shapes and sizes. But regardless of what it is that is causing this grief, if we don't look at it long enough to truly understand what it's inviting in us and have that self-reflection, there is not a way to understand how we want to live each day like it's our last. Like that is the part that emotionally, not through action, because we already decided that's impossible, but through our emotions, how can we live each day? And Lauren is a living example, because of now. I mean, she was already, but really honoring that time with those that matter. And, and here Terry Swope put up a Maya Angelou quote, "When you know better, you do better." And I think that's a beautiful closure to today.
I totally agree. I'm going to definitely take that one. I love that quote.
Yeah.
God, I love that quote. All right. So then why don't I use this time to wind down? That was a great conversation. I feel like we could talk on this one forever with every single person that joined us today.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Carlos and Terry and Lauren and all those that joined and that listened to the recording. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So to wrap us up, my goodness, I learned how to speak this week. So we go live every other Thursday on LinkedIn and YouTube from 12 to 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We release our brief pre-recorded show on the Thursdays in between our lives as a teaser to invite your comments in the discussion, as we did today. So as you can see from what I just said, we are as predictable as the pea in the princess's bed. And if you aren't familiar with it, it's a story by Hans Christian Andersen that Christine and I both grew up reading.
Such a great book. I read it over and over. I just had to get that in. Yeah, I love it.
I'm so happy you did. So with that, tune into our pre-recorded episode dropping Thursday, April 11th. Again, we'll put it on YouTube, which will be a warm-up to the questions that we're going to be asking our guest, Jessica Winder, who will be joining us live on April 11th. And what basically Christine and I are going to be talking about, which again, I think is something many of us can relate to, it's going to center around our upbringing and how it shaped us. So we can't wait to see you then.
Absolutely. Y'all are great. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day and week. We love you.
We love you. We'll see you soon. Bye.